Good morning. In today's video, I'll discuss 5 key takeaways which are the litmus test of Modi government foreign policy as we have seen them in Operation Sindoor. But before I discuss those 5 issues, it is necessary that we all understand the world that we are living in. It's a different world altogether. Why? Because the global geopolitics has shifted from transatlantic to Asia Pacific region, which is our region, primarily because of the rise of China. And the world today is a multipolar world. It has 3 great powers and it has 2 global governance systems with entirely opposite thinking. Let me explain all this very briefly. When we say a multipolar world, we are talking about all countries in the world today, and there are 193 countries under the United Nations, all nations big or small, 193. Each aspires to have an independent foreign policy so that the nation can concentrate on development and prosperity of their people. So this is the multipolar world. Then we are talking of 3 great powers. They are America, China and Russia with 3 characteristics, a great power characteristics. One is a great power has the capability to influence events anywhere in the world. Next, it can look after its sovereignty all by itself. Next, there is no way that any country can coerce a great power to change its policy or change its thinking. That's a great power. So there are 3. Now I said there are 2 global governance systems diametrically opposite in their vision. One is the traditional one, which is led by America, and it has global north nations in it. This constitutes 20% of the world population and is the traditional thinking, balance of power politics, and it believes in a zero-sum game. That means either you win and I lose. It cannot be that we both win together. So that is one system. The other system is which has been created by 2 great powers working together, aligning their vision. And those 2 great powers are China and Russia, and their visions of Belt and Road Initiative and Greater Eurasia, they are today in complete sync with one another. And what they talk about is about development and prosperity. They talk about equality of all nations. They talk about indivisible security. They do not talk about zero-sum game security. In other words, no absolute security, only relative security. And these are the countries, as I said, talk about development and prosperity, and therefore the bulk of what used to be the third world countries, the global south, which is 80% of the world population, has gravitated towards this vision. So this is the vision which is popular, and the key mechanism or the key institution which will take this forward is BRICS. Now, we are also aware that 2 great powers, America and China, America believes it's in a biggest contest with China in this century, a geopolitical contest, again a balance of power thinking of the Americans, which they talk of as the second Cold War. So basically why these 2 countries are in contest is, as said by America, because there is in the 4th industrial revolution, which is led by artificial intelligence, these 2 countries can compete in the entire ecosystem. Now, as far as the trade war is concerned, President Trump keeps talking about a trade war. It's actually futile because the trade war has already been won by China. It is over. And why I say that is because China today is the biggest manufacturing nation in the world. 31% of global manufacturing happens in China. Then, out of 193 nations, 120 nations are primary trading partners of China. Then, in the last year, 2023-2024, when things were not working out, the trade was not working out between America and China, China recorded $1 trillion trade surplus with the rest of the world, which means that it has options. It has options in the global south besides America today. And the very fact that President Trump finally realized that his trade war talk of putting tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, is not working on China at all. The evidence is that both the countries today are talking with respect for one another, something that the Chinese wanted. So the trade war is over. The key issue is the tech war, the technology war that is going on, as I said, of the fourth industrial revolution. It's a long list. I will not go into that. I will just talk of the tech war very briefly in the military domain, because we are talking about Operation Sindoor. So here are the things, each of them. What is done by China is a Sputnik movement in itself. The DeepSeek large language model, which is being used in warfare by China. Then China's PL-15 missile. Then China on 1st January 2025 is the first country to have tested the 6th generation aircraft prototype, that is J-36, the first fighter with 3 engines. So it will have more speed, it will have more thrust. That means this will operate in what is called the near space, where it cannot be shot down. And when we talk of near space, we are talking of altitudes from 20 kilometers up till 100 kilometers. Beyond 100 kilometers, space starts. Between ground to 20 kilometers is where you have all commercial flights, you have your all jet planes, everything happens here. So it goes up. This is the first aircraft of its type. Then in August 2021, China demonstrated what is called the fractional orbital bombardment system with hypersonic glide vehicle as its payload. Again, a Sputnik moment. Then China today is leading in humanoid robots, which will change warfare completely by 2030. Then China is leading in quantum communications. So you see, the point to make is that when we see this entire tech war that is going on and how it will show up by 2030, it becomes very clear that 2 issues will be important here. One is, whichever country, China or America, is able to take its technology of the fourth industrial revolution to maximum countries in the world, that country will set standards for the new technologies. And as I said, the global south, 80% of the world population is now gravitating towards China. So China will be able to set more standards, its standards, for more countries in the world. And the second issue is of cyberspace. What this means is that the internet, the present internet, will splinter. It will become in 2. It will be led by the American technology, it will be led by the Chinese technology. So this is the world we are looking at by 2030, in the next 5 years. So 2 things we are looking at: an entirely new thinking, perhaps of 80% of the world, and then we are looking at bifurcation of technology. So this is the world in very brief that we are looking at. Now let me come to India and Operation Sindoor and our foreign policy. Now the big achievement of India's foreign policy, repeatedly given out by India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar, is that India today is the Vishwa Mitra. That means we are friends with all nations of the world and all nations want us. Let's test that. During Operation Sindoor, how many nations actually stood by India? Now, all the nations, the important nations, I will just give out which nations they are. They spoke in general terms. They said, yes, fight against terrorism is important, and they said that there is a need of de-escalation between India and Pakistan. And these nations include United States, Global North nation, Quad nation, G7, G20, where India takes a lot of pride in saying that we are either the member of that or we are called there as observer in G7. Nobody issued any statement in favor of India. Then we have the BRICS country. If you see the founding members of BRICS, China in any case, we don't have normal relations with China. Then Russia has been our traditional friend, but its response was absolutely lukewarm, basically aligning itself both ways, because Russia, as part of Greater Eurasia, now is warming up or becoming close to Pakistan. Then Brazil and South Africa, they also gave similar statements that there is a need for de-escalation. Then SAARC countries didn't say anything. Then BIMSTEC, that we are very proud about, they didn't say anything. The only countries that stood by India in Operation Sindoor are Israel and the Taliban regime of the Afghan government, and the Taliban regime is not recognized by the world and not even recognized by India. That is all the support that India got. Now let's see Pakistan, what happened there. Now Pakistan's biggest friend is China. In addition to which I am certain China will give more equipment, more hardware, more software to Pakistan. In addition to that, China also very timely spoke about naming 27 more places in Arunachal Pradesh. Now Arunachal Pradesh is our state which China claims, so a total of 90 places has been named in Arunachal Pradesh by China. We should not take this lightly at all. So China, we have not normalized relations. We have no intention of normalizing relations. I'm referring to the Modi government. Now let's see America. Now, without America's support, there is no way that Pakistan could have got the IMF 2.4 billion loan that it has got. And India, I mean, the Modi government has already now, it wants to do Mission 500, which basically means that as far as trade is concerned, the present trade is around $200 billion bilateral between India and America. The Modi government is committed to take this trade to 500 billion in the next 5 years by 2030. Then Turkey stood by Pakistan, and Turkey is providing hardware, drones, they are being provided to Pakistan. Then Azerbaijan stood by Pakistan. So the point to make is Pakistan is not isolated. This is the conclusion of Operation Sindoor, despite the fact that India tried its best to isolate Pakistan. Now, so this is the first thing, takeaway. Second is hyphenation. Now, most of the diplomats or the discussions that I heard, they are very worried that because of Operation Sindoor, India and Pakistan, they got hyphenated because all the countries spoke of them in one breath. Everybody spoke of de-escalation between India and Pakistan. So hyphenation is something which had ended during the Clinton era, now has come back. So this was the worry. Well, you see, this worry is misplaced, because there can be no hyphenation between India and Pakistan as far as the two economies are concerned, because India's economy is far too bigger than Pakistan's economy. So the hyphenation was only in relation to Operation Sindoor, which means that it was in the military field only. And as I have been arguing for many years now, as far as the military field is concerned, India and Pakistan, they are peer competitors in this field. And so therefore, this is something that people don't seem to realize and understand. I won't dwell on it. Now, the second issue connected with hyphenation is, when the diplomats and analysts, they worry is that, you see, hyphenation is that old thinking. It's a zero-sum game, that you win and I lose. As I said, that the world has changed now, which is why we are not completely with the new world, which is why, being a global South nation, we are not, India is not. India doesn't want to be seen close to BRICS, doesn't want to be seen very close to SCO, it clamors to be in Quad. All this is known, is because of the colonial mindset. You see, this thinking of hyphenation is a mindset thinking. As I said, the new world is where the majority of countries, they talk in terms of equality, they talk in terms of equal respect for big and small nations. So this is a thinking that has to change the mindset of the Indian. So this is about hyphenation. Now, next is about Kashmir. Now on Kashmir, President Trump offered to mediate between India and Pakistan, and India has rightly said that any talks have to be between India and Pakistan will be bilateral under the Shimla Agreement, which is a correct stand taken by India. But India has also said that the only talks that can happen with Pakistan are either on terrorism or on how to get back Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which of course getting back POK is simply impossible. If anything, what the outcome of this 4 days of Operation Sindoor, the support that Pakistan has from China, should have established by now. Not only that, let me explain a little further. Because of 5th August 2019, India's action in Jammu and Kashmir, what has happened is, please recall, earlier, before this date, rather to be very specific, in 2010, when the Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabao came to India, their embassy very clearly issued a public statement saying that the disputed border between India and China is a mere 2,000 kilometers. At that time, Jai Shankar, the present External Affairs Minister, was India's ambassador in China. He was asked to comment on that, and he said, no, India's border with China is 3488 kilometers. So this discrepancy of 1488 kilometers is primarily in Ladakh. This is where it was, because as far as the Chinese were concerned, they were very clear, and this is the fact also, that there was no border between Ladakh and Xinjiang region of China. This was an open border always, right till when the Britishers were here. So, after India decided to make Ladakh a union territory post August 2019, which of course was not acceptable to the Chinese, Chinese have now gone and claimed the whole of Ladakh, something they had not done earlier. They were just keeping quiet by just saying that the border is 2,000 kilometers. So now they actually claim Arunachal Pradesh and the Union Territory of Ladakh, and their claims should not be taken lightly. This is my suggestion. Next, terrorism. Now you see, Indians and the analyst and the government has to realize that terrorism was a very hot issue after 9/11, when America declared the global war on terror. But it is no longer an issue today. Because of the global geopolitics, everything has shifted to the conventional war. That is where things are shifted, and that is why America today is in a security competition and a likely war with China, which is a conventional war. So it's about conventional war now. The countries that highlight terrorism are India, Israel, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Nobody else really talks about that. They talk in general terms. The reality is that what Prime Minister Modi said, that because of the geopolitical shift, or in the present world, the era of wars has ended and the era of terrorism remains. Actually, the opposite is true. The era of war has not ended because the global geopolitical shift is still going on, and the era of terrorism is over because not so much importance is being given in the present day world to terrorism by itself. Now I'll talk of the last and a very bizarre thing said by External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar. Please listen into this very small clip what he said.
Because even at that start, at the start of the operation, we had sent a message to Pakistan saying we are striking at terrorist infrastructure. We are not striking at the military, so the military has an option of standing out and not interfering in this process. They chose not to take that good advice.
Now, what Jay Shankar has basically said is, which is very shocking, and I am surprised by this, that before Operation Sindoor was launched, India actually informed Pakistan that we will be launching the operation, basically saying that we will launch missiles into your territory, but you should not, but we will not hit your military targets, so you should do nothing about that. In other words, Pakistan did two things, obviously, once they got to know of that. So, one is that the Pakistan Air Force was ready, and India helped Pakistan in this. Therefore, the night of 6th 7th May, when the air battle happened, Pakistan Air Force had a certain definitive advantage. Number two, the Pakistani side would have immediately informed the world capitals that this is what India intends to do. Basically, getting a clean chit from the world that they had to retaliate because obviously you are breaching their sovereignty. So they had to retaliate. Now, this is called a foreign policy with strategic arrogance. That only can come about when you're not really thinking. So, in my opinion, when we look at all these 5 takeaways, it should become very clear that India is not really the Vishwamitra that it claims, and there is a need for a review, a drastic review of India's foreign policy. In my next video, I will talk about the key weapons which are coming in China and how they will change warfare. Until then, thank you.